be the last 5-minute round.
Good afternoon, everyone. I wish I had enough time to ask all of you questions because all of you made excellent presentations. Alas, I will start off on an issue that I've been hearing quite a bit about starting in my riding and something that I've been hearing a lot of my colleagues talk about as well. I'll start off with the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Stratton, you mentioned very quickly labor shortage and then immigration. One of the things I've heard quite a bit from small, medium-sized businesses is that there's a severe labor shortage, not a new thing, but something that they're having a lot of trouble with. And then also I hear from a number of industries that are particularly prevalent within my riding, which is mostly hospitality as well as construction, that they're having a hard time filling in labor. And this isn't a new problem. This has been an ongoing issue. So one, is there a labor shortage? And then what did you mean when you were pointing to immigration as a possible solution?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very tight labor market right now in Canada, that's for sure. And there are a couple different aspects to this. There's a skills gap, at least, in terms of what's being demanded in the market versus what's in the labor supply. And then, particularly in certain areas of the country, maybe some underserved area when it comes to the labor market, there is a shortage of labor in those areas too. What we have been proposing is, first of all, a pathway to permanent residency for a number of immigrants, whether they're international students or just people that are working here on temporary foreign worker permits, but to have those decisions made at the local level, as opposed to having some sort of national overarching strategy. And what's going to be key for that too is having the proper local labor market information as well to be able to match these skills of people that are available, whether it's through permanent residency or
And
otherwise.
if I could just interject for a second,
Yep.
and this might be a little unfair to you, I was talking to someone else within the Canadian Chamber of Commerce over the last couple of days, and I did get onto the data shortage. I was told that there's some sort of general national data, but what's lacking is local and regional data, and that's become highly problematic in terms of clearly identifying labor shortages, skill shortages, and even skills mismatch that might actually be happening. Can you validate that that's true?
Yeah, I mean, having granular data at the local level, we could certainly improve on that. And it's very important, too, to be able to match those skills with where it's demanded, because the skills that are needed in rural Newfoundland are going to be very different than what's needed in downtown Calgary. And so it's important to have that information and be able to have that pipeline.
And while employment and labor tends to be in the jurisdiction of the provinces, do you see that maybe the federal government might have a role in terms of creating some sort of a framework and gathering or providing resources to get that information?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are definitely federal departments that are very much involved in data collection. There are two ways to collect data, through surveys or through a footprint that's left. I certainly know that the federal government is experimenting with some of these new methods to be able to gather that, and we'd be happy to help out through our local chambers of commerce as well.
Okay, I appreciate that. Then I'm going to turn my attention to Fanshawe College and Mr. Wright. You had talked about federal government support for more funding to promote those trades. And then I also took a note down in terms of, I called it integration support with small businesses. So providing more support that'll sort of help facilitate that. In relation to this issue around, I mean, typically, I spent a couple of days in Berlin before Christmas. They do such a wonderful job in terms of bringing together their educational facilities, their unions, the government, and businesses to try to figure this all out. Yeah. Maybe if you could just explain the role you might see in terms of federal government helping to address this issue that it seems to be percolating.
Yeah. Okay. Well. There is, and this may be more the provincial purview, but there is a funding gap between what we receive in seat plan versus what it actually costs us to deliver. So that's something that needs to be remediated for sure. I think with apprentice, generally speaking, there's much that can be done that's actually no or low cost too, just better coordination. So there's a lot of disparate sort of information for young people and older people alike about apprentice, generally speaking, and so there's much we can do. I think that the federal government could support around a strategy for better navigating and wayfinding of this information. there's much we can do to support, I think, younger people to become really engaged and excited about this as a future career, and to provide opportunities for them to actually sandbox it out with a number of those sorts of partner organizations you described, because I really do think as you say, that the German model is illustrative of what we should be doing in terms of bringing those parties together to create a solution together.
If you can wrap up pretty quickly, Jeff. You're
Okay.
done. Okay.